And welcome everyone. It's John the Net Guy. It is Storage Wars, the first show of 2025, show 501. That's how I number them. I basically not doing 501 shows yet. Other people will be jealous if I was doing 501, but I am shooting for 52 shows this year. That is a whole lot of shows, and it's going to take people like you showing up to make that even possible. Today's show is going to be awesome. It's one I've been planning for a very long time. I didn't get to it last year, but I was really excited. And honestly, it's going to help me out a lot because I've got a lot of these microSD or MicroSDXC cards, as they are technically called, that I could use in my cameras because I use these for just about everything. From all of the webcams you see up here seem to have microSD slots to devices like phones. If you've got an Android phone and you're so lucky you can do that. My boat even takes microSD for the navigation and all the other stuff that it uses. They're becoming super popular. I'm going to check the chat. Blind Tech is in. This is an early showtime. Hello, everyone. Let me know how I sound. Hopefully everything's sounding good. This is a completely live show, so I'm going to try to answer as much of your questions as possible. One of the things I'm going to do is I'm actually going to adjust this camera. I just noticed when I run my scroller across the bottom, which usually covers the very bottom of the screen, you guys won't be able to see these cards that we have here. And these are some beautiful cards. Speaking of, we've got brands showing up from Samsung, SanDisk, and many others here. We're going to go down in order. We're going to find out what the difference between a U3 and an A1 and an A2 and all those kind of things are if you're not familiar with them already. I see Kylie McGee is in. Says, sounds great. Awesome. Thank you so much for the sound check there. Don't tell my wife, but I stole out of the homeschool room the leaderboard, essentially. I thought about doing this many different ways, and I thought, what the heck? Why don't we do something really cool? And I'll just make a leaderboard here. And we can put them on here as we test them out. And you may actually see this later on Amazon Live. I'm an Amazon Live influencer. So whatever that means, pick your poison there. But that means that this will be content for Amazon later. So I do help, I appreciate you helping me create content. Now, how are we going to test these drives? Well, we're going to need a very high quality drive to read and write those from. Now, I've got my MacBook Pro here, so there's going to be no bottleneck from a performance perspective from an I/O. But there may be, if you use cheaper interface cards, cheaper adapters, things like that, there may be some I/O congestion. So what I'm going to recommend is that we kick the show off with our first product. But before we do that, I need to go back here and get the Amazon stream going. For the folks that know, that requires a couple clicks behind me. I got to bring up my phone where the Amazon show is going. And we'll hit the go button, and then hopefully we'll be streaming live on Amazon. Oh, Kylie brings up a huge point here with the prevalence of counterfeit cards on Amazon. How can you be sure? I got hit by this as well. Let me save it till we get a couple more people in the show right now, and I'm going to address that topic. But that is a fantastic question, and it's actually a real danger. But we're going to go live on Amazon right now. Here we go. How do we handle counterfeit cards? Oh my goodness. Welcome everyone from Amazon world, you Amazonians, to the live show today. We're going to do a micro SD card drag race, MicroSDXC to be exact. These are the high capacity micro SD cards. So anything over 2 gigs all the way up to 2 terabytes is considered an XC card. We'll also, if we have some time in the end of the show, I brought some USB keys. Now, I know that these aren't super popular anymore, but I do think for phone backups, for offline backups, they can be really powerful. I'll even show you how I transfer data and how I take data with me if I need to edit videos remotely. A lot of people going on vacation this holiday. I was taking one of these with me with a lot of footage. It's also how I transfer footage between machines. I'm also going to show you a really cool tool. This right here, if you have a MacBook, you absolutely need one of these. This is a microSD slim adapter, which will let you finally get some serious storage for your MacBook Pro that only has a microSD slot. So this adapter we'll talk about next, but let's kick the show off as we normally do here. Give me 1 second. I got to figure out the order that these go in, so I put them in the correct order so I can grab them. There we go. It's going to be that way. And if you do have questions, feel free to let me know them in the chat. Again, completely live show. I'm going to do an unbox here, and to do that, I think I'm going to move this out of the way. Let's see if I can do this. Move that over here. Did I just wipe something away? No. Okay, good. We're good enough. That's how it goes. Kill E. It's what Homer Simpson's called. God. Killy. I love it. Thank you, Killy, for the correction there. I haven't watched The Simpsons enough. There was 20 years of Simpsons there, and I know I'm missing out on some. So first product we're going to be taking a look at, and I need to pick it on the Amazon here, is a micro SD and an SDXC card reader. I'm going to bring this down a little bit so my editor doesn't have to do so much work. This is from Lexar, and the design of this one is really interesting. It's USB-C interface, but it's 3.2 Gen 1. So this is going to be super fast. So there's going to be no bottlenecks. It's also a dual slot card as well. So it's a card reader. You can read different size media. I want to have this really on my MacBook, my Mac Mini M4 behind me, because that one doesn't come with a slot anymore. So I wanted something where I could put my media from my cameras directly in here. So you can see this one's supported by Mac OS, Windows. It needs a USB 2.0 plus port, it says here. So we're going to open this guy up. I'm going to grab a small knife to help me do that. Now, let me know in the chat, is this something that you would normally use, and do you use micro SD cards? I know a lot of content creators do. I know if you do any sort of digital photography, that's where most of these things sold. But even your Wise cameras use them now. There's a lot of them. So very simple, and they've done away, it looks like, with the adapter. You're USB-C only on this. So that's one other thing to keep note. They have a really nice cover, it looks like, to keep the top clean here. It's got a little tab to peel it off, the plastic, so you can pull that off so it stays nice and pretty. There we go. And I'll bring it over the side camera here so you can see it up close. There it is. It does have an indicator light on the top, so when you plug this thing in, it will tell you when it's reading and writing, which is an advantage. So this is going to be used today to do all of our performance testing, because this has over 300 megabytes per second, if I remember right, as its maximum read and write speed. So it's not going to be bottlenecked at all. So this is from Lexar. You're going to see this throughout the show. You're going to see me talk about it, and we'll do that from there. Killy says, micro SD cards in all of my cameras and Raspberry Pis. That's the primary storage medium of a Raspberry Pi. If we think about it, also Unraid uses the USB keys for that. You need to have an ID number on it, so I'm guessing you can't use an SD card for that, but that is from Lexar. If you ever want to see what's being sold here, I will put the URL for the show at the bottom of the page. Sorry, this is my first show of the year. I'm slacking. I should have had this up here, but I'm going to pull this up real quick for you guys so you can see it. Set later. And that will take you, if you click on that link, it'll take you to a page that looks something like this. This has an idea list. It has also all of the other videos that I've put out, and I'm trying to put out a video a day in 2025. So I've technically done that. If I go into the show 501, you're going to get to see all of the products here. Now, the Lexar is $21.99, which, again, you're buying something that a lot of laptops come with, but if your laptop didn't come with it, that's something that you can add on, and you're buying something that's a higher quality. So instead of fuddling with the back of a mini PC or something, you can plug this right in the front and have something that's a little bit higher quality with a 312 megabyte per second read speed. So not bad. So we're going to come back here, and I will go ahead and start opening the next product. And if you're a owner of a MacBook Pro from 2018 and beyond, you know how expensive storage has gotten. Storage on the MacBook Pro is very limited, unfortunately, only because you have very limited slots in here. So this is the side of my MacBook Pro, and you'll see that there's a slot on the side here for HDMI. They finally brought back the SD card slot, but almost all of my cards are the thin, fingernail size micro SD. So what they've come up with, this is from a company called BaseQI. And the nice thing about this is there's a different one for every single Mac model. So make sure you look up BaseQI and then the MacBook you have. This one just happens to be for my Pro 14 and 16. This is the UHS-2 420A. Now, it also has the same color as your Mac. So if you have a silver Mac, if you have a space gray Mac, it's going to match this. Now I'm going to use some scissors to safely open this and extract the card out of here. But what it is it's a slimline card that fits right in here. So it will fit in this, and it's going to give your Mac additional storage. Now, would I use this all of the time? Probably not. So I'm going to give you a quick close-up here from my editor. So that's what the card looks like in the retail packaging. But the reason that I wouldn't use this necessarily all of the time is because getting it in and out, you have to use your fingernail. You have to have fingernails to get it out of there. But it will expand the storage of your otherwise very expensive to upgrade Mac. So if you wanted to add another 512 gigs, based on the price of the cards that we see here today, I've got a 512 that I'm going to be adding. It's $39. So $39 plus this adapter allows me to add a full 512 gigabytes. Now, would I use that as my primary drive? Probably not. Video editing? Probably not. But the way that this works is you take any sort of storage card. So right here, you can take any sort of your smaller. Let me see if I've got one available. See, we haven't done any unboxes yet, which is sad, but let's see. I've got one actually right here. So this is my standard full-size adapter. I can take this 256 from PNY, that goes in my other camera, and I can insert it into the BaseQI like so. So let's see. So I've inserted it like so. It's gone in, and then I can slide it into the side of my MacBook. Now you'll notice that just disappeared. So it covers the slot and it gives you a little fingernail to hold it. And I'm going to see if I can pull up, this was footage from late last night from my GoPro, and absolutely it's there. So let me show you here real quick what you can see. So let me pull this up for you guys. So there is the drive letter that you're seeing here from my GoPro. It added it, and now it's available. Now I could actually do a permanent drive letter here, essentially make a data drive or a backup drive, and I can buy one of these 512 or larger micro SDs and put it in my Mac, and now anywhere I go, I have that large drive. The other nice thing about this, so we've increased the storage double or more, depending on which size card you get. It doesn't stick out of the slot. If you use the other adapters, they all stick out of the slot. They're very easy to break, so this is very durable. If you need to take it out, you can reach your fingernail in and just do like that and pull this very small adapter out. So that's all it is. And the nice thing about that is that now anywhere I go, if I forget to bring one of my SD to micro SD adapters, I can pull it out with my fingernail, and I've got one with me all the time. So that is from BaseQI. I highly, highly recommend one of those if you don't have already. Those are super cool if you're looking for storage for your MacBook Pro. So we will continue to talk about some of these other products that we have here. I'm just going to check the Amazon chat, make sure nobody's in here. Hello, everyone. Looking for answers. I'm going to take another quick look. Oh, Manchester. Awesome. Hey, John. Good to see you. It's John 40 from Manchester, UK. You're welcome. Halfway around the world. And our other creator in the channel, Blind Tech, says, planning on buying a Sony ZV-E1 camera for my content creation, and I want to get some SD cards from your affiliate links. Yes. Okay, so we also need to talk about price per gigabyte. So performance is one thing, durability is another. So depending on the type of card that you need or want. And then there is cost. So those are the three factors we're going to look at today. I was actually looking at testing endurance on these things, and I talked to a couple other YouTube creators. And what we found out was that the durability and the number of times you can read and write from these cards is measured in terabytes, and these cards are gigabytes. To read and write from them for days, weeks at a time to really test their endurance could take years of continuous reading and writing. Now, some cards are designed to read and write more often. So that's going to be your high endurance cards, your extreme cards. And cards have a different performance profile depending on what we need to get out of them. So a card for a wise cam may be fine at 10 or 20 megabits per second reading and writing because it's only 1080p video in most cases. A micro SD that has to go in my GH5 here, which I believe has up to like a 400 megabit per second write speed, will need to be a lot faster to keep up with the 4K 60 hertz and high detail and bit rate that this professional camera can put out. So that's something you have to think about when you're choosing your cards. Give me one second, I'm going to turn the screen off behind me here so it doesn't bother our editor later. Just taking a look at the chat. So those are a couple things to think about. Let's talk about the different markings on these cards as we pull out our very first card. So our first card today that we're looking at is from SanDisk, one of my favorite brands of cards. This is their extreme version. Now, extreme means not necessarily heat and temperature, but this is performance. So you're doing 128 gigabytes, which stores a ton of data. It's going to have a read speed of 90 megabytes per second read and 190 megabytes per second read and 90 megabytes per second write. Well, why are those different and why is that important? Reading is a lot faster than flipping bits electronically, and so it's going to have usually in most cases more work to do if it's writing those bits digitally. Now, reading will generally be a little bit quicker. Writing is going to have to again, change the state of those bits and do it in a way that's durable. Now, there's other things like the controllers in these very tiny cards have to do things like wear leveling and moving data around because this technology is not infallible. Now, why would you choose something like this over a larger? Well, again, this is form factor. This one is 2 terabytes. This one's 128 gigs. So you may choose a different storage medium depending on what you want. Like my show is being recorded right now to a solid state drive, and the technology is very, very similar in these flash cards. So the extreme one here is for high speed read and write. It's going to have a few ratings on here. You're going to see this U3 designation, a V30, and an A2. Generally, the higher number is better. So there's U1, U2, U3. There's going to be a V30, V10, V20, V30, and then there's A1 and A2. And those are all about the reading and writing performance. So take a look at your app, take a look at your camera, take a look at whatever you need, and specifically pay attention to the read and write speed so you can see if this one's going to perform how you want. We're going to open this guy up. This one does come with an adapter, which we could directly use, but I'm going to go ahead and use the Lexar one just consistently. Now, there's a great question that came in the chat a little bit earlier, which was, how do I guarantee that this is a legitimate manufacturer's card versus somebody else? Now, I've actually received from other vendors poor cards that were just clones and they don't actually perform. I would very much inspect the packaging, make sure that it's high quality, make sure that it's not a print or a photocopy. Sometimes they'll even photocopy these. Some will not include the logo, or the logo will be slightly different. It is very hard. Always buy, again, if you can, from a reputable company like Amazon, and buy, if you can, when you buy from Amazon, from the Amazon store. Don't buy from a third-party seller if you can do that, because Amazon works with some of those large manufacturers to get millions of cards. And so I'm going to go ahead and take this. Of course, they make this nearly impossible to get out. But I'm going to go ahead and pull this little tiny card out. And you can see how infinitely small this storage has gotten. So this is 128 gigabytes, is a V30 card here. A2U3. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug this in. So I plugged the Lexar reader in for the first time, and I'm going to go ahead and put label side up and put the card in, and it looks like it's gotten in there all the way. I'm just going to double check on this, and then I will bring you guys over. And actually, I can bring you guys over now because it's asking me, it says, do you want to allow talking to this card? And I absolutely want to allow it here. So that's my new untitled card. So it does come pre-formatted. I'm going to open up Disk Utility on my Mac here so we can see what kind of format it is. Looks like it's the exFAT system, the exFAT system, which is going to allow you those larger sizes. It's got a formatted capacity of 127.82 gigabytes. So that's we'll compare with the others. And it's got 28 gigs used. I do like to see what is on these. Give me 1 second. I'm going to bring it up over here. It is interesting using two different computers and monitors at the same time. So there's nothing on it but 28 megabytes of data is what it's saying. I'm going to go ahead and configure our disk speed tester here. This is coming from Blackmagic Speed Test. You can download this if you have a Mac. Crystal Disk Mark is another one if you don't have a Mac, which I highly recommend. And I'm going to go ahead and turn the caption off so you can see the bottom of my screen because we're going to do this test here. Select target drive. We're going to pick untitled, which is our target drive. We're going to say open. Now, what this is going to do is it's going to read and write a 2 gig file. Now, if it's not fast enough to do our testing, we will come back, but I think it's going to be. So we are getting 95 megabytes per second write speed, which it offered a write speed of 90 megabytes consistently per second. So not only is the Lexar card holding up with this, it's actually meeting based on the card manufacturer's benchmark here. So it said it's going to be up to 90. Now from a read speed, it said up to 190 megabytes read. We'll pull up the stats and see what the rating requires, but the U3 rating and some of these other ratings are going to have a specific amount of write speed that it's going to need. Now, the Blackmagic is going to tell us a bunch of things down here. And what that's saying is that if you were writing a 4K H.265 compressed, this card, now it's up to 97 megabytes, would be absolutely able to do that. It would actually go all the way up into 8K DCI space. So reading and writing of H.265, which is real common for your drones and other devices, completely covered by this card. So the extreme performance on this one, we're going to let this go for a little bit. I am going to write the high value of this. So it had 97 as a peak. I see 95 there, and I see 160.9. I'm going to see if this one, I'm going to give it this third pass here while we're talking, and I'm going to see if we can get all the way up there. Give me 1 second to pick this on the Amazon. Now, this card is available right now on Amazon. It's saying it is $16.04. It's on sale for 24% off. That actually results to a cost per gigabyte of about 10 cents. Now, that could be rounding up or down. So the highest I saw was 96. I'm going to give it 96 from the last one, and I believe it was 160 point something. So somebody keep me honest. Hey, that would be a great thing, Blind Tech. If you're in the chat, let's see if we can put the highest numbers, if you don't mind, when you see this. Let's put the highest full run number here on one of these passes in the chat, if you don't mind, and you can help me out and do that. And then we will transfer them over here. But 96 was the one I remember, and a read speed of 160. So it's going to bounce around, but it's been pretty consistent in that range. There's 93. So we'll have to figure out what colors. I think I'm going to use green for the colors, see if it shows up. And then we'll do 157. I think 160 was the highest that we saw. So 96 and 160 is what we're going to call this one. This is from SanDisk, kicking us off the write speed of 96 and a read speed of 160. So I'll bring us back here, and hopefully you guys can see that. Does that, see, that doesn't show up as nice for me, I don't think. I want to take a look and see if I have my other Sharpie available to me. That would That would just be my luck, wouldn't it? That is a pen. I don't want to use that. Where did I put that guy? Oh, there it is. I'm going to retransfer these numbers, and we're going to do 96 in black and 160. We'll put a star by the winner at the end. So I'm going to do this like so. 96, 160 on the read. Okay, perfect. There we go. Our first card is down. Again, that one is available on Amazon. Very highly rated. This is a brand that I've used an absolute ton of and really enjoy that brand. So I'm going to go ahead and safely eject this card so I don't get yelled at by my Mac. They tend to still do that. There we go. And we'll go from there. The next card that we're going to bring up, and I'm going to try to keep these cards together. This is going to be a challenge here. The next card that we're going to bring up is actually from Samsung. This is also 128 gigabytes. This is their Evo Select line. Now, what does the Evo Select mean? Well, the Evo Select series is a special series designed just for Amazon. So you'll see that Samsung also sells storage outside of Amazon, but Evo Select is a brand specifically marketed on Amazon. They're good cards. This one has also a U3 designation, an A2, and a V30, saying it's good for 4K, whether it's a smartphone, a camera, action camera, or drone. It boasts a transfer speed. Now, this transfer speed is kind of loaded. Remember, we were talking about this. 130 megabytes per second, so not quite as high as the read speed on the Extreme, but that's its overall transfer speed. So it would require you to read a little bit more to find out what it considers a transfer. But we're going to go ahead and unbox this one. I'm going to give my editor something to look at here in 1 second. We're going to show that card and its pretty box before I destroy it here. Let me go ahead and cut this one out. Technically, they say to cut them across the top, but then what you end up doing is you end up just destroying this packaging because it doesn't like to come out. They never do. And then you still have the problem of trying to get them out of this little tiny part of the package. That is the most infuriating thing, is for something so dainty and small, they really try to make it hard for you to get these little things out of their package. I'm just waiting for one to fling across the studio. So there we go. There is how small that little guy is. That's the 128 gigabyte right there. Now we're going to go ahead and put this in the Lexar. We're going to bring up disk utility again. Nice thing about this Lexar, the lights on it. I love the fact, so it shows red if there's no card inserted. And then it changes color to show if it's got a card. It's just lit is going to be in white. And then if it's reading and writing from it, it changes into, it starts to blink here. So just want to say hi in the chat to the ton of you that are watching. This is awesome. Good to see you guys. If you're just joining now, this is John the Net Guy. We are doing a drag race here. I'm going to bring you over to the other monitor so we can take a look at the speeds on this one. I'm going to use Disk Utility app. So the Disk Utility app says that this one comes in as EXT FAT, has slightly over 128 gigs of capacity and 25 used in the format process. Well, why are these things slightly higher, slightly over? Every manufacturer has a reserved capacity. Now, the other one was slightly under 128. So it all comes down to how much data they make available, how much reserve capacity they have for remapping or anything that might be bad, wear leveling and others. You'll see different sizes, but 128 gigabyte category appears to be 128 gig formatted in this case. We are going to pick that new target drive, and we're going to come down here. It's going to be the untitled one. We're going to say OK, and we're going to give it a start. This, again, is from Samsung. This is the Evo Select 128 gig, and we're kicking it off. So the write speed is definitely slower. The other one was starting around the 90s range. This one's around the 60 range. I'm going to try to get better at these. So And actually what's funny is I know I have a Post-it note around here somewhere. So this test is going to take obviously longer because we have that. Now, what can you do in 60 megabytes per second? A lot. Now, when it gets to the end of this, it'll show us what resolutions it thinks it can read and write at. But 61.2. So Evo Select is 61.2. Now, it said a transfer rate of up to 130. Well, it's got 124 there, 125.2. We're going to let it do another write speed because, again, this is a fresh card straight out of the box. We're going to see if it can beat its 61.2, and it's starting to do that a little bit. The other thing is consistency on cards is super important. We want to make sure that the card is putting out a consistently high performance speed here. We don't want it to go one round at 60 and then stutter and then be able to only write 10 megabytes per second. So if you're doing any sort of production work, people live and die by their cards. So this is really good to see. So we did 61.2 last time. It's going to bobble a little bit. It's coming in at 60.4. And now we're on the second round of reading. We're coming in at 123.5. 123.5. That's really consistent. So I'm gonna write that one down as 123.5. So 123.5. I'm not gonna wait for it to do the write speed and test a bunch of times. And it's not that that's necessarily hard on the card because we're not writing that much data, only 2 gigs here. We could be writing, like I said, for weeks, months to get these things to actually fail. But that is Samsung Evo Select. Now that one is a little bit better priced here. Let me see if I can actually pull the pricing over for you guys. Normally Amazon doesn't let me talk about prices except in my lives. And let me see if I can shrink this one down. And there we go. So I'll bring this back up for you guys. This is the pricing in the drag race today. So we're looking at this card right now. It's 10 cents per gigabyte. The overall card cost is much, much lower than the other ones. Let me see if I can pull the card cost on this one. This one is available right now, it says on Amazon, for $12.99, $12.99. And that is a fixed cost. So the cost is not on sale, whereas the other one's a sale price right now. This is a fixed cost at that. So not too bad. And we're going to go ahead and continue on. The next card, I'm going to go ahead and eject this one. And I'll bring this back over. So we're down through 2 cards. I'm going to go ahead and put the numbers up here. I'm going to round the numbers just because I want to be a little bit fair with the space that I have. So this is going to get 61. Do our standard mathematical rounding. If you make it to .5, you get the next one. And 124 will give it. Okay. So those numbers are up. Hopefully you guys can all see those. So far the SanDisk is in the lead, but coming up on its heels is the Evo Select. Now we're going to go to a budget-friendly option. So maybe you're just looking to put very large memory cards in your Wise cameras, or you've got a bunch of devices, maybe kids' tablets. You want to add 128 gigabytes by 3. So you get 3 different cards in this package from Lexar. Now, Lexar was a big name for a long time in storage and memory. Will they perform? I don't know. We're going to find out right now. These were purchased from Amazon by me. You guys are making that possible, by the way, just by tuning in, watching my videos, and even purchasing. I do, in all this full disclosure, get a single-digit commission on these items, a low single-digit commission. I'm going to pull the first card out of here. I like buying in bulk when you can. So this is going to be a little bit more expensive up front. So this one right here is available right now for $32.49. So you purchase that one time, but it's going to give you 3 cards instead of an individual card. So while the other ones were $12.99, this one's $30. Let me go bring this back over. Excuse me. And then we're going to bring up disk utility. And close out of this. I'll bring disk utility over, and then we're going to take a look at the format on this one. So the other one was just over 128. This one is, well, a lot larger because that's my local hard drive. Let's go over here. This one's 126.4. So if that matters, this one has the least available capacity. So this is from Lexar. So they may not be giving you as much space here, or they may be reserving more of that space for, you know, wear leveling and other stuff. 126.4 total capacity with 126.39. So that's very interesting. We got BC Kamen is checking in on the YouTube side, says good evening. Good evening to you. Welcome to the show. We're doing the SD card drag races here. I'm going to go ahead and close this back out now that we know that that number is there. And I'm going to go ahead and make sure it's selecting the correct target drive, which should be called untitled, which it is. And then we're going to start the drag race on the Lexar. This is the 8 cents per gig lowest cost card we're going to have today. And let's see how it performs. The write speed is already doing pretty well. It's putting work in here. I like that. So first test on the write speed is looking good. It is 83.2. So it's landing somewhere in between our first and our second place here. And we're going to round up to, looks like 81 is what we're going to call that. So it's got an 81 megabyte write. And the read speed, now that's the lowest read speed that we've seen, isn't it? So the other ones were over 100 megabytes per second read. Now this could be important if you're trying to play something or copy something quickly out of it. So this is very interesting numbers to look at. So slowest performance so far, but that's 91 on the read. So far, SanDisk is in the lead. I don't know if you had money bet on this, but they're going for the second round here. Maybe the Lexar just got really lucky the first time. Mike is in here on YouTube saying SanDisk for the win. We're going to find out. Now, what does that mean as far as write speed? So if you look at the read and write columns down there, what it's saying is that you could read and write up to 8K with this technically. So I can tell you, having 160 here as a read speed on the SanDisk, I use those because they're really, really fast in my cameras to copy footage from. If this is coming in at 90 or 80 or whatever it ends up coming in as at the low, that's just longer that I have to wait to copy my footage. So that's another really important thing to think about is, you know, do you want a faster card? Well, you know, that is more time that you're gonna have to wait. So that came in, and we're gonna round that down to 90. So I'm gonna take the high numbers, which was 81 and 91. I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt. Maybe someday when we come back here, my editor will level these all out, but they're staying within a pretty tight range here. So this one looking between 75 and 81, and pretty consistently in that 90 megabytes per second. Now, this was, again, from Lexar. This is a 3-pack. I'm not going to test all 3, but my guess is that the performance is going to be very similar on these other cards. So I'm going to go ahead and stop our test on this side because I don't think it's going to go much faster. But that is the Lexar. This is 8 cents per gigabyte, one of the lowest cost of all the cards that we're testing today. These are 128 gigabytes. Most vendors will have different sizes. Honestly, I bought these almost a year ago and they've been sitting in the review pile. So, you know, 128 gig was about the highest that most people wanted back then. 256 and 512, the prices are dropping. But this is from Lexar. It's available right now on Amazon for $34. Let's go back to, if you're visiting my show page, which I usually scroll along the bottom, you're going to see a page that looks like this. Let's go take a look at the Lexar E-Series. These are the ones that are $32. Ratings 4.7 on 29,900. So a lot of people really like this one and this combination here. So not a bad deal on these ones right now. And it looks like there's an option if you do need a card reader, a USB-A card reader. They even have a bundle with this one that comes with a card reader. But again, this Lexar card reader that I'm showing you today is probably one of the best out there. Okay, I see a few of you on Amazon have made it in. Thank you guys for showing up. Thank you for joining the program. I'm going to turn my studio AC onto AC because I was like, man, it's getting warm in here. That thing's on heat. Okay, I'm gonna cool myself off a little bit. I was like, wow, I'm having a hot flash here. Let's go back over here to the leaderboard. I'm going to put the new numbers in. So Lexar is coming in at number 2 on the write speed at an 81 megabytes per second write. And a read speed of 91. So that's the slowest reading card that we have today, but the lowest value from a cost perspective of 8 cents per gigabyte. So not bad showing there, and a good price if you're looking, and price is your biggest option. So coming back over here real quick, and I'm going to bring you guys over. We're going to leave that page, and I'm going to see if there's anybody in the chat asking questions. What is the read and write lifespan? So that's a great question, BC. Thanks for joining here, and thanks for the question. What is the read and write lifespan on the micro SD cards? Typically, the lengths matter to me more than the speed, especially dealing with Raspberry Pis. I actually had a talk with some people about this to see how long it would take to reach the total bytes written on some of these cards at 100 megabytes per second. It's a big math problem. Let's go ask Grok on this. I'll see if I can use it. If I write continuously to a MicroSDXC card with 128 gigabytes total storage, let me also do this. Samsung Extreme 128 gigabyte total bytes written TBW rating. So they call it a TBW rating. That's the total. So 150 terabytes is the SSD. High endurance card. Let me see what the high endurance rating is. The max endurance is 702 terabytes written, and the high endurance is 117. So I'm going to use the 117. Actually, do they have the extreme on here? It's a good Reddit post here. I don't know if I can share this screen, but SanDisk high endurance. Let's just use that as an example. So if endurance was your key, that's actually one of the next ones coming up, I believe. Oh, that was the last one we did. The Samsung high endurance was the last one. So let's do 117 total storage and a TBW rating of 117 gigabytes, terabytes. How long would it take me to fill or to use up 100% of the TBW? Question mark. Okay, we're asking Grok this question. I'm going to bring this answer over to you as soon as he is done doing the math on this. He's doing his spinning around because I didn't want to do the math live, and he said something went wrong. That's what you get for live shows here. Let's see if let's do which one. Do we want to use Meta AI? I'm trying to think of what. Let's do ChatGPT. It's a big math problem, but again, it's a long time. That's the advantage here. I'm going to log in. Great question, by the way. We're going to get to the bottom of that. That's one of the advantages of doing that here. It's doing it, it's writing, and I'm going to bring this over to you guys. And we're going to bring up that raw. And we're going to bring up camera 3. So it's doing it. To use it up, it would take 13.8 days to use the total TBD of continuous writing. Now, again, are you going to do that at 10 megabytes per second over half a year, almost half a year? Take you a month at 50 megabytes per second. So most of them don't have 100 megabyte continuous write speed. So we're saying at least 50. So it'd take you a month of continuous writing. So hopefully we answered your question on that one. And that's one with 117 TBW. And that's just what they're rated at. They may go higher than the rating, but fantastic question. That's why I'm not too worried about the TBW on these. On an SSD that maybe was churning memory or doing some other stuff, you might see that, but fantastic question. We're going to skip on to the next one, which is actually another budget one here. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling these up. This one is from Amazon Basics. It's 128 gigabyte. Now, I can't remember if this is the 3-pack of them or not. I also need to pull this up on Amazon. See, I got to click all these buttons. If I don't do them, then it does not show up properly for you. Let me look and see if I've got the Amazon one. I don't have the Amazon one on there, so it's not going to show up anyway. So I'm going to open this one up and we'll do a top-down quick unboxing. Amazon has forgoed the packaging here, the fancy packaging, and Amazon just comes in a Amazon Basics connection box here. So we're going to open this up. I can't remember if this is a 3-pack. It is a single unit here. Now the single unit is actually going to be a little bit more expensive. It looks like on the Amazon Basics is $17.94 right now, so not the budget leader. It does also come with a SD adapter. We're going to skip using that because we're doing a consistent test with all of these. Let's talk about ratings on this one, because I don't believe this one is rated. Oh, it is rated the same as the rest. So it's going to say that it has a V30 U3 A2 rating and a class 10, which this is almost never used anymore, these class ratings. That was from way back in the day. So definitely has those ratings on it. And we're going to go ahead and test this Lexar right now. So we're putting it in, and I'm going to go ahead and bring you guys back over to the Blackmagic. We're going to do disk utility. I'm going to bring you guys over here. So this one's showing 126.42 as its available capacity. So about equal to the Lexar then in what we saw. And we're going to do a speed test on it now and see where this one lines up. I'm going to go ahead and hit start, and we're coming in at 83 right out of the gate. So very cool. So yeah, BC saying works for me, thank you. And absolutely, you know, that was a great question. These are used in Raspberry Pis a lot, and it just basically says that you can read and write this thing almost continuously and you're not going to have a problem. So it's going to take you at least a couple weeks at the highest rate of writing. Now, would I use this for surveillance? And, you know, normally those you'd have to look at, they're maybe 3 megabit per second. So you're looking at 2 or 3 years on a surveillance system. If the max is a month at 100, at 10. So yeah, maybe a year and a half on a surveillance system. So I might use a more durable storage medium on that. So this came in at 81.8 and 90. So 81.8 gives it an 82. And we're going to say 90 because we're going to upgrade that. And this is the Amazon Basics. So we're going to give it a couple more run-throughs. Now, let me know what you think of Amazon Basics as a brand. Now, do I trust them as much as SanDisk or some of these other ones? Probably not. On the other hand, every Amazon Basics HDMI cable, those were the ones that are usually often you get counterfeit ones or ones that don't work right. I don't think anybody's going to go around out of their way to counterfeit an Amazon Basics card, but all of their HDMI cables have been pretty good, the ones I use in production. So can't say necessarily anything bad about that. Let me know what you think about Amazon Basics for their cables and media and other devices. So we got a 90.5, which actually does bring it up to 91. So we're doing best of, looks like 3 writes here. And best of 3 reads. So we're looking at 79 here. We're going to come back to about an 80, it looks like, when we round up. Another thing that I'd say is this has just been very consistent. That's one of the things I've noticed about this. Super consistent on it. Within 2 megabytes there on the write and within a meg or 2 on the read for the Amazon Basics. It's pretty cool. If you're just tuning in, this is John the Net Guy. We are doing a speed test here. This is the 4th card, the Amazon Basics, and it's looking like the read speed and the write speed are lining up to our most economical card, which again, that was the same number we were expecting. Bring you guys back here. We're going to put the new numbers up on the board. Amazon Basics slots into 2nd place with an 82 megabyte write speed. And then the read speed was 91. Let's see, did I get that backwards? 82 was the write, and no, 91 is the read. Yeah, I got that right. Just so close to the Lexar card. So the question is, are they rebadging Lexar cards? That's Such a close match there between those. If you're just tuning in, John the Net Guy here. If you want to purchase any of the cards that you're seeing here, there's a URL that's scrolling across the bottom now that you can see. That is my Amazon show page. If you go there, it's going to take you to a page that looks something like this. This has all of the products listed that we're doing, except for the Amazon Basics. It is going to have the next card that we're pulling up, which is the SanDisk High Endurance. Now, high endurance usually means higher price, but this one is the second lowest cost of the day. There's a tie for the lowest cost. If you can go up higher to a 512 gig, the next second one from now is going to be an 8 cent per gig. This one is 9 cents per gigabyte for its cost, and this one is SanDisk High Endurance. But we were just checking out the Amazon Basics one, and kind of a lackluster read-write performance on it. So the high endurance cards here had a pretty good read speed on the Evo Select here. I'm trying to think if we've got another high endurance. Oh, sorry, we didn't. We had the Evo Select and we had the Extreme. So high endurance is going to be an interesting one. Let's talk about what high endurance means and what makes this card different than most. So this is from another popular manufacturer, SanDisk, their high endurance one. This is supposed to have a higher endurance to humidity, X-rays, magnets, all the stuff that you worry about here. It's not proof, meaning that you're never going to have any issues with those. Waterproof on the water, though. Shockproof, which they almost technically all are because there's no moving parts in them. And temperature proof, it says. So if you're using a card outdoors, if you're looking for something that's going to go in a Wise Cam and you need something that is bulletproof, maybe for security, I've seen a lot of creators use these just because we don't want to have our cards fail. Now, it's not going to have the same performance numbers. Obviously, if you take a look here, it's going to have a read up to 100 megabytes and a write speed of only 40 megabytes. But a 40 megabyte write speed that you can set your watch by, and it's going to be there all of the time, may not be a negative. Let's go ahead and open this one up real quick. I'll bring you guys on the top down so you can see me try not to cut myself. The technical correct way to open these is to cut across the tab here, squeeze them open, and then you can pull out this plastic tray. But you know what? It's honestly just as difficult, I think, as trying to get them. They make these almost impossible to get out. Just like all of the other cards that we've been looking at today, this one is going to come with an SD card adapter. You can peel the back. It's got a plastic backing here, but man, do they make these difficult. So I'm going to go ahead and peel the plastic back to try to get this little card out. If you've got a better way to get these things out, like a tank or something, let me know. But there we go. There's the high endurance card. Again, waterproof, humidity proof, temperature proof. If you're going to use these, again, outdoors, if you're going to use them in a dash cam, that's another really good use case for these. Definitely look at this 256 gig SanDisk. We're going to go ahead and plug that in. Eject the old. That's the Amazon Basics coming out. And we're going to put in the second SanDisk of the show. This is the high endurance one. So this one surprisingly has the same or lowest cost, or almost the lowest cost per gigabyte as some of the other ones. But let me go ahead and bring you guys over to the test screen, and we're going to bring up disk utility as we have. We're going to look at this disk. 255.84 gigabytes is what it's coming in at. So this is a 256 high endurance, and that's pretty decent. Again, it said it was a 256 card. It's coming in within half a gig of that, so not bad. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this. We're going to go ahead and make sure that the drive loader, they've all been called untitled, and they're all ext fat so far. That one is no exception. We're going to do that, and then we're going to go ahead and hit start, and we're going to kick off the first run. Now, it said up to 40. But it's already pushing 121 megabytes. So the high endurance card is getting one of the fastest write speeds that we've seen all day. This is pretty cool. And this is coming through the Lexar card reader. The read speed coming in at 150 megabytes. I don't have other storage hooked up to this, so this is way beyond what was expected here in our testing. I'm gonna let this a 127.4, 157. So 127, 157 are the numbers to beat. Wow, that's pretty awesome. Cale Campbell's checking in on the Facebook side. 131.5. We increased to 132 our average, and our read is going up. Let's see if it gets to that 162, 161. So that 161 is a new record as well. We're gonna let it go one time. For great on the water, maybe my GoPro 5 and 100 feet of water will still have footage. It would, other than the GoPro probably getting trashed, the memory card is not gonna be an issue. So 128 megabytes per second that time. An incredible performance here on this high endurance card. Maybe it's the combination, maybe it's Maybelline. You guys wouldn't get that. 160, so very consistently fast on this one. I'm going to stop it there. So we've got a new leader. This is the 256 gigabyte high endurance card from SanDisk. That is going to blow my mind here. I might have to make a YouTube short for this one. High endurance. It says, you can see right there, rated speed 140. Well, it did 132 write and 161 read. That's a new record. Let me put that up on the board. So high endurance coming in at 132. There we go. And the write speed or read speed of 161. It just sneaked ahead of the SanDisk Extreme. So SanDisk making some pretty amazing gains here on these cards. Pretty wild to see here. J.A. Wright is saying Team Group Pro Plus on my watch list alongside the Extreme Pro. I guess you won't be testing that one. I don't think I have an Extreme Pro. Sorry about that. Check in. That would be really fun to do there. Oh no, Mike is telling us that AZ Basics still has a problem with counterfeit cables. Dang it. I thought I thought that was my way out there. So very impressive showing from the high endurance card. We've got a couple more to go. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I've marked these off on Amazon. I am curious. Let's go take a look on the Amazon show page. So if you visit that URL that's going along the bottom, you're going to see this high endurance card. It is actually one of the best value cards right now. Not on sale or anything. $22.99. It looks like it does have Prime shipping. It would be here in 3 days. That's kind of odd that it's a 3-day Prime. But 30-day refund or replacement. It doesn't necessarily say the warranty. I want to see what the warranty is on this one. Manufacturer's warranty, click here from customer service. I'm not going to go into that right now. But yeah, a lot of people marking it here. The rating on the other card was 4.7 stars. This is also a 4.7. So pretty fantastic showing overall. Now that has increased my, piqued my interest on high endurance micro SD cards, because I knew that they had all the waterproofing, the shock proofing, temperature proof, all that. But I didn't know that they would actually be in the lead in all categories so far. We do have one more card that we can take a look at, and that is the Samsung Evo Select right here. That is what she looks like. It is rating up to 160 megabytes transfer speed. We figured out that was the read speed on the last card. Let's go ahead and open this one up. I'm going to give my editor a top-down one to look at as well. So there we go. You get a top-down view of it, the front and the back. So this one is also saying it is waterproof, wear-out proof. I don't know what that means. I think I could wear this thing out if I needed to. X-ray proof, temperature proof, magnet proof, drop proof. That's pretty close to high endurance if you would think about it. So that's all of the things that the high endurance is claiming. Let's go ahead and cut this one open. It's got a 10-year limited warranty, it's saying, on this one. If you think about the cards that I've got from 10 years ago, though, they're so small, I wouldn't want them replaced at 7, 8, 9 years. Let's go ahead and take this one out of the packaging. I will say this little peel packaging is a little bit maybe easier than the other ones, but not by much. Man, they do make these incredibly hard to open. Okay, we got it out. This is from SanDisk. This is their Evo 512. Let's pull that out. This is the 6th card that we're going to test here, the Evo 512. It's going in. I'm going to bring up disk utility for us. We're going to see if that is available. This one is 512.68 gigabytes. It is also an exFAT formatted drive, so it is ready to go. And we're going to make sure that it is also titled Untitled, which it is. And I'm going to say open. And we need a drum roll. And we are going to kick off the last speed test of this round. We're going to hit start test. And we're coming out of the gate at 113 megabytes per second. So not blowing the doors off the other ones that we've seen today, but still a decent showing. And for your standard 4K drone or footage for your DSLR, things like that, this is going to work great. So you can look in here. This is going to handle up to 4K, 8K if you're doing H.265 compression. If you're doing raw footage and other stuff, you're looking at 1080, but most things do some sort of compression higher than ProRes. So 107.7 will be 108 and 148. So kind of a middle of the pack showing. So this is the 512 Evo. So 108 we said and 148. So now where does that land compared to the other Evo Select that we started out with? It's actually faster. So the first Evo Select was 61 and 124, one of the slowest writing cards and about mid-range on the read. This one's doing pretty well. Second round looks like still back in that 148 range. Read, let's see if it gets in there. Yep. Pretty consistently 148, and then if we round up on the right here, I'll do it one more round. We'll let them have it. I see a Dave Frank in the chat on Amazon. Hello, Dave. Thanks for checking in. Thanks for watching on Amazon. I'm going to go ahead and make sure I mark this one in the chat. Let's see here. Going across. Okay. So that one, 111 that time. So it dropped, or no, sorry, that went up 111. So that's, I've got to go to 112. We're going to do the last right. And that dropped a little bit, about 1. So not the fastest card by far in our showing today, but a decent performance for a 512 gigabyte card. Now this one, I'll tell you specifically, I purchased this 512 because I want to use it with that base QI adapter that I told you guys about earlier. So see if I still have. Do I still have that base QI adapter? If you're just tuning in, this is an adapter that if you've got a MacBook Pro, you really have to look at investing in this. It's from base QI. I guess I have to hold it that way. But look how tiny that thing is. And the reason it is so tiny is because it fits slim against your MacBook and it doesn't stick out at all. So you can expand your MacBook storage. Now, if you were to use a high endurance card like the one last time, 130, 161 megabytes per second. It's not SSD speeds, but it's not slow. Like, that's very reasonable. So that was my plan for this 512 card. Now, I could also use this during my video production. I would not have to change out cards very much at all. I'm going to run this card through the base QI adapter, the one that we just tested, and I'm going to see if there's a difference. So let's go ahead, slide that card in, and I'm going to bring up disk utility. So disk utility. Okay, now it sees the disk as an SD 512/68 still, exFAT. So everything looks the same here. Let's go ahead and select the target drive. So it's a different slot that it sees it in, but it should have very similar performance. So this is going through the base QI adapter. So performance, a little bit less. You wonder how much buffering this Lexar is able to do, this card reader. That's a great test of the card reader if the raw adapter can't get quite there. So it's doing its write speed. We're at we're at 56, 53 megabytes per second. So that's a pretty precipitous drop on this card, going through this adapter versus going through the other. So it came out as 60 on this card. Let's do a couple other tests. This will be fun. And we're at 90.2. Very interesting. Uh-oh, Blind Tech says, I've had some SanDisk Extremes die on me. Not good. And then this one's coming in on a read speed of 90. So that is a little bit more understandable. So I wonder if this Lexar card is just really, really good at buffering. So there we're coming back in at 70, 75 megabytes write speed. So that's about 15 megabytes per second better. Let's see what the read is. So still not quite as fast as going through the Lexar card reader. That's good to know. So that Lexar card reader is definitely making things fast. Now, the cost per gig on this 512 is actually still the lowest. So it's $0.08 per gig. So 8 cents per gigabyte for the 512. That's going to have a retail price of $39.99 right now. So again, 70 megabytes, right? Not incredibly fast, but that's going through the base QI adapter this time. So I'm going to take a quick look at the chat here. Don't see any other questions on that. We're going to move on to a couple other products, just some USB products that we want to do. I am going to write down our finals here, and we'll hand out the awards. So the Samsung, we said, I'm going to give it the best benefit of the doubt. We said it did 112 megabytes write. And then it did 148 read. I'm going to give it, again, benefit of the doubt. We're going on the highest numbers that we got here. So coming in at first place, let's take a look at these numbers. Coming in at first place on the read, if you need a card that is incredibly fast reading, you're looking at the high endurance SanDisk. And so that is the fastest of all of the 6 cards that we tested today. If you're looking for the fastest writing card, it's also the high endurance SanDisk, which is pretty amazing numbers that came out of this card. If you're looking at the second place for write speed, it's the Samsung Evo 512. So that little bit larger storage, I'm wondering if they're using TLC or some other types of flash that maybe are a bit better on the write speeds. So that looks like 112 is your second best. Second best for read was actually the 128 gigabyte SanDisk Extreme. So that's one I use very, very commonly in video production. So it's got a good write speed, a good read speed. It's supposed to be pretty durable. If we look at just the top of the chart here, so we're looking at just the 128 gig collection here. If you're looking in that range, the fastest read speed is the SanDisk 128 Extreme. The fastest write speed, also the 128 gig Extreme. If you're looking for kind of a second place finisher, it's kind of split here. The Samsung Evo Select has a really good read speed, but that has the slowest writing capability that we had. And the Lexar and the Amazon Basics are basically just neck and neck. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in on that section of the show. We've gone through all of those products. I'm only able to do this because of your sponsorship, because you guys are watching, and because you do purchase this. If you do want to purchase any one of these, you can visit my show page. That is at the URL that's scrolling along the bottom. If you want to purchase any of these, you look at the video description or the caption around the video that you're watching. It'll have affiliate links that take you to the individual pages here. We are going to switch gears, and I'm going to talk about USB flash drives. So when you're transferring data, a micro SD card is really nice for storage in your digital cameras or small devices that need micro SD storage. But if you want something that'll fit on a keychain, you want something that's a little bit more durable, maybe hopefully has a little bit higher TBW rating, is going to have an enclosure, maybe will have protected contacts and you don't need an adapter. Well, now we got to start talking about these. So I'm going to go ahead, take a quick picture of this just so I have it for posterity. And then we're going to erase this and we're going to do this all over again. But we've only got 3 of these guys to start with. So let me see if I have our magic eraser here. I'm going to find which one I want to get rid of. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this, and we're going to put down a whole new section here for the USB thumb drives. So these are flash drives, thumb drives, whatever you want to call them. I still find these incredibly useful today. I have some that are 64 gig in a 5-pack that I buy to install operating systems on. So if I'm doing computer work, I always want to have like a Windows installer. That is incredibly nice to have. So I'm going to go ahead and put our numbers down the right side. So this will be read. This will be write. And this will be the product name over here. So first up, let's take a look at what we got. And I don't know if I put these in order on here. I'm just looking to see. Samsung will be our first one. So this is a Samsung 256 gigabyte type C. Now, the neat thing about the Samsung is it does not have any sort of adapter. That's one thing you're going to have to be careful of, is if you are trying to use this with something that only has USB-A, maybe an older device, you are not going to be able to use that with USB-A because it is USB-C only. Some of the other ones do have a little bit different interface. As far as capability, waterproof, temperature proof, X-ray proof, magnet proof, and shock proof is what it's saying on all these. So next one up is going to be the SanDisk. Now this is a very unique one, and I wanted to show you why. So this is the SanDisk. They don't have any other types of brands on these like the other ones have all the code names. So this is a gigabyte. This is type C and A. So this one actually does both types. So when you use it, you can slide it back and forth. This would be really good if you have a computer with maybe a USB-A slot and you have a phone with a USB-C slot, including like the new iPhones. You can plug this in and transfer data back and forth. This Samsung, for example, says speeds up to 400 megabytes per second, but this one goes only up to 150 megs a second. So we'll take a quick look at that. This does come with the SanDisk Memory Zone app if you're using Android, which can be really good for copying data. And then this one here from Team Group. This is our first Team Group of the day. Team Group. This has a lifetime warranty. That was something really interesting about this one. It has a little printable area for the size. It looks like they print on each one. This is a 256 gigabyte card, and it is a USB-A or C, but it has this adapter. Now I want to see, does this adapter fall off? So the other one has a very unique system of sliding back and forth, and we're going to see which one we like best. So let's kick this off again if we can, and we will get started. And there we go. This is the second phase of the drag race. Who thinks this is going to be higher speed than the MicroSD? Now you have to think that these are weight-wise bigger. These are our 3 cards that we're going to be racing today. Go back on the top down. So those are our 3 cards. From a weight perspective, they're bigger. From durability, they should be better. They also include their own interface, so you don't have to have a card reader. So that's a distinct advantage here. Let me go ahead and go on the Amazon, and I'm going to select the first one that we have on Amazon, which is the Samsung. And I have a feeling this one is boasting the highest performance. This is a 3.2 USB-C drive, so that'll be interesting as well. So I'm going to take our scissors out. We're going to open this one up along the line. There we go. Awesome. Okay, that was a little bit easier to get out than those other cards. This thing, let me just tell you, is light and it is tiny. So this is from Samsung. This is their card. Now, one thing I worry about, I'm going to immediately lose this cap. So this cap is going to be gone, and this is all we're going to have left. Now, if you wanted to use this for an Unraid installation, you better have a USB-C bootable port here. So some of these very large cards, I would only use them for, honestly, for data transfer, storage. Maybe you're giving a copy of video or photos to somebody and you want to give them a physical device. So that's this guy. We're going to go ahead and plug it in. We're going to see what kind of format it comes with. And we're going to see how it performs. I have to unplug the Lexar. It does fit in the slot, but man, is that tight. You know, so it's fairly large for its size. I might have an issue with this other one. I have luckily other ports that I can go to, but let's take a look here. If I do disk inventory, disk utility. So that's disk utility. Do I have my other monitor here? Let's go take a quick look at that. Do we want to allow it to connect? Yes. Okay, so disk here. It's saying it is a 512, so that is not it. So that's the old one that I added. So this one right here is the Samsung USB. It is 256.64 gigabytes total capacity and just over 256. It is FAT32 formatted. That doesn't look right. Samsung USB. Okay, let's take another look here too, because there's actually going to be files on this one. Give me 1 second here. I'm going to bring this over. Now, are there files on this one? It doesn't look like it. So yeah, I thought that there might be files based on that, but it says MS-DOS formatted. Let's see if this thing can even read and write from it on my Mac. I don't know if it can. So let's select target drive. We actually don't want untitled now. Volumes. Okay. Samsung USB, but it's grayed out. Let's take a look at this guy. Can I do it? Okay, it is reading and writing from the Samsung USB, and for some reason it says MS-DOS formatted. I can see the temporary file that it's creating, so it's definitely doing that. Let me come back over at the chat, take a look here. Yeah, controller on the drive. Good point. Okay, so the first one, gonna be 96 for the right, and this is for the Samsung. Coming through, and wow, that read speed. So that's definitely faster than micro SD card. So we're at 319. Not bad. Now, these are the kind of cards that I could actually put in my ATEM. I have a video recorder here that's recording all the cameras for my editor for later. And this is something that he could actually go from directly. I use SSDs right now, but man, look at that read speed. Very nice for an external drive. We have to remember, so we're 97. We went up a little bit on the second pass, and we're at 320 on the second pass. So we're really consistent on the performance here. And it looks like it's going to do it again. It might just tweak up a little bit here on that write speed. Can we break 100? It's on its way. We're breaking 100 megabytes per second. Now, it said that it had a transfer speed, if you remember, up to 400. So we're 101 write with a 319 read. So that's all the tests we're going to do on this one. But you can see that that starts to break into some other higher resolution. So you could read ProRes 422 footage here using this tool to do our performance interface here. So very cool. That is from Samsung. That is their USB Type-C drive. It says that it's MS-DOS formatted, which I don't know if that's just an oddity there. We'll have to take a look into that a little bit more. FAT32 format versus EXT FAT. We'll see what the default format on these ones comes out. The next product that we're going to bring up here is actually from SanDisk. I got to go ahead and select that, unfortunately. Give me a second. On 1 second. I got to pick this one on Amazon, so I get the right clicks for the right people. Now, the one thing I like about this one is the versatility of it. So if we're looking at it, it is a very unique one. I've had drives like this before, smaller than the 256 gig. It's boasting a 150 megabytes per second transfer rate, but it has retractable connectors. So your connector is not going to lose a cap. That's another thing. If you're very common to losing or dropping things, you won't have a cap to lose, and it has both interfaces. So this is ultimately compatible. If you've got like a server and on the front, maybe you only have USB-C ports, this one's really cool because you can come up to it, USB-A ports. You can come up to it with the USB-A side, or you can bring it back to your other computer and switch over to the USB-C. So very cool capability here. Probably the most flexible of what we have. It says it's compatible with Mac OS and Windows, which it should be. I'm trying to see if it'll actually tell me what the format of the file is on here. It doesn't actually, looks like it says. It has a 5-year warranty. I want to look and see what the warranty is on our other one. So this is the Samsung 5-year limited warranty also. So both of the Samsung and the SanDisk have a 5-year warranty. And let's see how easy this one is to get out of the packaging. This is the impossible to open packaging, but there we go. Now, what I would highly recommend, if you can, is to try to get a lanyard for these. This does have a hole for it, which is almost impossible to use. You can sometimes feed things through with a paper clip there, but I want you to watch and pay very close attention to how I open this. I slide this one end, and you can see I have a USB Type-C interface. I slide it the other way, and I have a USB-A interface on that side. This is one of the only ones that I know design-wise does this. Super fancy to have a USB-C and a USB-A. Now, there's only one problem, which is I don't have both on this laptop. I have them on the PC. So I'm actually going to use the USB-C. Now, I got to get right up next to, we've been using the same port the whole day here. I have to get right up next to my HDMI connector here, and it's going to be tight, but it did fit in there. And so we're going to connect that, and we're going to go ahead and open disk utility. Bring you guys up over here. Maybe if I pick the right app, there we go. Do I want to allow access? Allow access. So disk utility, it's called No Name. It's also FAT32 formatted. So it looks like consistently, these are all FAT32 versus the ext FAT system. Now, I don't know if this one actually has an ID connected to this physical device. So for unraid use, if you wanted to have this as your main unraid drive, you would have to have that. But this, we're going to have to pick No Name here out of our target drive selection. No Name. Open. And we're going to start the performance test. The last one checked in at 101 was its high. Let me put that up here while we're doing this. 101 with a massive read speed of 320. So it blew the doors off the test on the read speed. This one's coming in at a kind of a lackluster performance. So if you're looking for raw performance, the Samsung definitely is there. Coming in at the 63 megabytes per second when we round up. So the SanDisk is at 63. Now it only boasts 150 megabyte per second performance, which it's doing on the read side. So it is getting its full transfer rate that it boasted. So I'm going to write that down as 153. We're going to let it run a couple more times. Take a quick look at the chat. So we're looking here. BC Cameron says, I got to pull this up. It really depends on the controller for the drive. So that could be, yeah, the drive controller on some of these could definitely be it. And the USB interface speed, obviously. So I've been using the same exact port on all these. And I think, you know, there's also some buffering and other stuff that Lexar, the cards just seem to read and write faster through it, which is pretty amazing when you think about it. So that Lexar may have some buffering capability or throttling in there that helps it perform better. Who knows? So the next pass on this one, it started out at 63, which was good. Now it's at 43. So if you've ever tried to copy like a big Linux ISO or something, or set up a boot drive, or Ventoy, as one of the other creators in the chat here was talking about, and you have to wait a really long time for something to copy or write, that's the write speed there. So the second pass, the write speed and the read speed were slower. Now we're looking a little bit faster, but it's fluctuating quite a bit on this. There's not a lot of consistency on these, on this one specifically. So this is from SanDisk. This probably has the most utility though. Price-wise, the prior drive, they're all the same size, 256 gigs. This is 11 cents per gig on the last drive that had the super high performance, and it was $27. This one's coming in at the cheapest, tied for the cheapest USB-C drive here, and that's coming in at $21.29, and it's 8 cents per gig if that's what you're looking at. So from a price perspective, this is a little bit cheaper. definitely has a lot more flexibility having the dual interfaces. And I love the idea that it has no adapters to lose. We're going to see about the Team Group one coming up next. This one specifically has that ability to switch and go right from it. I am sad that none of these come with lanyards or handholds or whatever, which would be really nice for something so small. Doesn't even come with a key ring. These are flash drives that you'll take with you. I'm kind of sad that they wouldn't even include specifically a key ring. That would be just like table stakes for something like this, you would think. So that is the last pass we're going to do on that one. I'm going to go ahead and put the highest numbers here on the board. So the write speed for the very utility-oriented SanDisk was 63 max. And the read speed was 153. Okay, so that's what we got out of these. Again, there's a whole idea of cherry picking. These were just purchased directly from Amazon. None of the vendors sent me these. Thank you again to all of you guys that are supporting this channel. You make it possible for me to do that and be independent like that. The last one we're looking at is coming from Team Group. So for the copy of these that I got for each one of these, you're getting these numbers. Now, they might fluctuate depending on which ones we buy, but I'm going to go ahead and pull up Team Group one here and show you guys that on this camera here. So this is the Team Group one. One of the things that's nice about the Team Group one here that you can see right away is that it has USB-C and USB Type-A. It's 256 gigs. It says it's a 3.2 protocol USB, so USB-C 3.2 capable. The one thing I've noticed on this one is that it looks like that adapter would be pretty easy to lose. So it has an adapter that fits on the front. So it's nice to get one of these adapters, but I have a feeling that this thing's going to fall off separately, very similar to the cap on the other one. So we're going to take a quick look at it. I'm going to go ahead and open it up for you guys. And it's funny because it's like it says to cut along the line here. We'll look at warranty real fast if they talk about it. It does not mention a warranty on this one at all that I can see. It has different file sizes. It doesn't mention waterproof or shockproof or any of those proofs. So that's another thing to think about. These other ones were advertising that capability. Let me go ahead and open this up. Okay, one of the easiest to take out here. Oh boy, now that is unique. Almost all of this thing is the drive. So if you take a look at it here, I'm going to slide this out of the way a little bit so you can see it better. That is the drive itself with a double end for whichever interface you want. That's how small these have gotten, is they must have shoved the memory below the contacts. It looks as small without this cap as most of the adapters that I have. So this is coming in from Team Group. This thing is ridiculous. How small this is. I was worried about losing the adapter if this was an adapter plugged in over the edge of it. Now I'm just worried about losing the whole thing because it is so small. We're going to go ahead like we did on the USB Type-C here. And wow, it fits just barely. Now, I don't know if this is going to be a deal breaker for some of you, but on my MacBook, this part either sticks up or down. It's just hanging out there. We're going to go back over to the other side and we are going to bring up, allow. We're looking at disk utility here. And on disk utility, this drive comes up as ext-fat. Okay, so more what I was expecting. So this one's coming up more as a flash drive. But the one thing, or sorry, like a MicroSD, the one thing I'm wondering about is with ext-fat and this drive, will it actually have a UUID, I think is what it is, which is needed, or GUID, which is needed for Unraid or similar programs that register the drives as kind of a copyright or a media thing. So it is 5 gigabytes smaller than what it's rated at. So this is supposed to be 256 from Team Group. It's actually 249 again. They might be reserving a little bit of extra capacity there for bad sectors or remapping as it might need to do. Let's go ahead and select the target drive here. I want to select down Untitled 1 and Untitled 0. I'm actually going to eject this other one so I don't get confused because it has 2 untitles here. So I've gone ahead and ejected. So Untitled 1 is the one we want. So I'm using the right interface. I'm not going to accidentally test the other one. And we're going to go ahead and start the test here. So this is from Team Group. Let's take a quick look here. It doesn't necessarily have a transfer rate guarantee. That's another interesting thing. This is one of the cheapest of the whole selection here. It's 8 cents per gigabyte still, but one of the slowest transfer rates. Now you can see the difference from before when we were writing at 140, 150 megabytes per second to writing 5 times slower. So this is the slowest write speed that we've seen all day. I'm glad we're doing this test because can you imagine going out and purchasing one of these because it's 3 cents per gig cheaper, it's $1.50 cheaper, and it runs at half the speed. So this is really eye-opening to me. This is exactly why I wanted to do the show today, because this thing is just creeping along at 32.1 megs a second. We're going to see what the read speed is. There is no guaranteed throughput, but it is the only 3.2 branded USB-C card here, but that has nothing to do with performance, clearly. And then the read speed is probably more respectable here. It's coming in at about 140, so we're going to do the Team Group. So maybe the budget brand doesn't win on this one. So it comes in at 32 on the write, and we're going to say 140 on the read. We're going to let it go 2 more painful times around the wheel. While it does that, I'm going to keep it running in the background, and we're going to take a look here. How can I do that? Give me 1 second. I'm going to, can I bring the show up, or am I doing too much stuff? So we're doing 35. We have so much time because this thing takes forever to spin. No, that's Hall of Mirrors. That's not what I wanted to do. I wanted to do DVE2 to be that, DVE1 to be that. And yeah, maybe I did that right. Did I do that right? Nope, they're the same. Okay, well, we'll give up on that for now. I'm going to actually pick DVE1 as 6. And we'll do that in the corner. I'll put myself in the corner. Okay, so we're still 33. This is painful slow writing. I'm only going to give this thing 2 passes because it's within a few of each other. But let me know what you think about that. That's incredible to have a difference in speed, 3x. So 33, I'm going to give it the 1 extra megabyte per second. The price is not 3x difference. And the write speed versus read, the read is coming back. Last time was 140. It's coming in at 142 if we round up for the read. So like I said, I'm going to cancel that. So what do you think of that result? That was pretty surprising. I don't think I was expecting it to come in so low. So the write speed on this one, I hate to purchase another one of these, but I almost want to know if that was a fluke, right? So I'm going to gotta clean that 3 up. I got to make my numbers look at least somewhat respectable. And we're going to say 142. So the read speed was still respectable, but the write speed was miserable. So top to bottom, what are the results that we have? Obviously, on top for pretty much everything was the Samsung 256 gig, which I have over here. A couple things about this one. I don't like the fact that the cap is detachable and losable because I know this is going to be gone almost immediately. I don't like the fact that this one didn't come with a lanyard. It is still incredibly small, as you can see. So I do like the look of it, and it is pretty thin, even though it's kind of a double stack. Performance is on point with this one. Comes out with a 11 cents per gigabyte storage cost, which is still pretty reasonable. It's about the same as most of the other storage we're looking at today, but an incredible 101 megabytes per second write speed. For a portable drive, that's pretty good. The next one is the SanDisk 256. So that one surprised me that the write speed dropped so much. So again, about 2/3 of the write speed. But the thing I love about this one is the utility factor of being able to go Type C, Type A. I do like that. Like Type A, Type C, Type A, and Type C, all in one device. It is very small to fit in your pocket. You will need some way of putting it on a keychain, but there's no real hole in it. So This is just going to fit in your pocket and go through the wash a few times until you lose it. That's kind of sad. So, you know, from a interface perspective, a big win. From a design engineering perspective, they're all a little rough. And the last one, probably the most unique of them from a design perspective, is this one from Team Group, which I was really worried about how that adapter was going to work. The memory is the adapter. So in this case, all of the memory is stored within that little tiny plug. It's got a USB-C on one side and a USB-A on the other. The USB-A is going to get full of dirt and lint and whatever. But they have this kind of weird plasticky, and I don't think there's any data in this end. This thing could only be that big if you wanted it to be. I do like the large cutout that it has in here. You can see that. So I love the fact that it has that very large cutout to put a lanyard or something through, but performance, trash. I might use this for an Unraid, to be honest. I might use this for an Unraid box just because the write speeds aren't necessarily needed in that. And put this on as a memory card for that. Price on this one was $19.49, the slowest of all of the ones that we tested today. But the read speed, that was the other thing, still within the range of the other ones at 142. So that is the two that we're looking at. Now, if you do need to store and transfer a lot of data, the next product we've got coming up, that's the one you got to watch. So let me go ahead and get this out of the way. We will come back and talk about these shortly. I'm going to pull up the next product in our chat. Oh, Blind Tech says, I have a different brand that you don't have right now. See, that's what happens. Blind Tech, you might have to do a review on your channel for that. I will totally link to you in the description of this one. And you can show us how that one works. Blackmagic speed test is really good if you're on a Mac. On a PC, the performance should be identical on all these. Again, it's just hardware. But the Crystal Disk Mark is the tool that I use on PC, so that's really good. BC Camen's coming back saying, I have a 256 gig drive like that. It's just like having a mouse dongle on my laptop sticking out. They're so small, they're nice at times. The Samsung Fit, I should have brought that in. Those are really smooth and small. I really like those. I've reviewed a lot of those before. So of the drives that we had here, I was looking to upgrade to some stuff with Type-C capability. So every one of these has Type-C to work with your iPhones and work with your newer Macs. But overall, Samsung is your winner. And even though it's limited to just Type-C, that's the fastest of them all in here. Okay, now let's go to the last product. I've already highlighted it in the chat. And this, if you're a content creator, if you're somebody that likes to store media, if you're somebody that wants to preserve media and back up your computer, this is the way to go. This is the Extreme Pro from SanDisk. So SanDisk Extreme Pro, this is waterproof and it's designed for incredible performance and speeds. This is really good if you've got a computer that's fast enough to use it, to be honest. If you've got a regular SSD in your computer, you're going to bottleneck on that on your computer if you're copying stuff. If you've got an NVMe, you're going to be in better shape. I use these to record my show, so I actually have a 1 terabyte version that the show right now is recording to. This is a 2 terabyte that I keep in my bag if I need to copy a lot of data, if I'm cloning somebody's computer or I need to do a big backup job. It is Type-C interface. It comes with an adapter that's much shorter than this. I just happen to have a longer cord. I'm going to go ahead and plug this in, and then you guys can see. This one has actually been used. So disk utility. This Extreme Pro comes in at a 2 terabyte formatted capacity. 1.9 is available. I have some data on this one, so this one has been used. It's an EXT FAT system. From a price perspective, though, this is actually 10 cents per gig. It's $199 right now for the extreme performance level. It's $50 off. We'll go check Amazon here in a second, but I wanted to show you the difference in performance. So you think of the performance that we've had all day looking at some of these. I want to show you what a very high performance drive can do. So this is external drive. So that is 767 with a 767 917. 768, and this went to 854. So 854 on the last one was our lead, and this one's coming in at 907. So the highest that we have, 854 and 917. So this is creeping up on that 900 megs per second rate. This will bounce back and forth, vary a little bit. Again, this is a used drive that's had data on it for a year at least, going back and forth. Tons of write. This is your extra durable. Now, they did have a firmware issue with an early batch of these. I'll be completely transparent. So I checked it, and this one was not impacted by that firmware. So if you do buy these, double check the serial number at SanDisk. Make sure it's not impacted by the firmware problem, because there is an update for that if you need. But this is a creator's drive. This is going to give you better than SSD performance. It's only going to be bottlenecked, honestly, by your USB port and maybe a little bit of this, but super fast read and write, as you see, almost 900 megabytes per second. I'm going to look and see from its box if it quotes, yeah, up to 2000 megs per second read and write speed is what it's showing here. So if you have the fastest USB port interface, it's going to say, it says nearly twice as fast as their previous generation. I'm looking to see, it is ruggedized design, forged aluminum, compact pocket, works with smartphones. It does have this kind of carabiner clip area. I don't know if I would put one on there. I could definitely see using like a hand lanyard or something, but this is a little bit too big to be on a keychain. But overall, you can see mine's worn pretty well. I love the feel on it. And very lightly, the 2 terabyte is written on there. So I can differentiate it from its 1 terabyte cousin. I've used both of these. The other one is only an Extreme. It's not an Extreme Pro. And the transfer rates are a little bit slower, maybe a couple hundred megs per second slower, but incredibly fast transfer rate. So if you're looking for something like that, it's a really good buy. Let's go take a look at the Amazon page for the show here. So again, if you go to that URL and then click on 501, the MicroSD drag race, this is the last product that we have here. It looks like it's back ordered a little bit. So you can get between 2 and 4 terabytes. The 4 terabyte would bring the cost per gig way down if you're looking for something that large. But performance that I got today was around 900 megabytes per second read and write. Aluminum chassis, IP65 water resistance and dust resistance. It has a carabiner loop, it's saying here. And it does have the ability to do encryption on the drive. I almost never, as a creator, use encryption on my drives, only because if you do get a very small read or write error and you're using an encrypted drive, it will lose the whole file. Whereas if you have a small read or write error on something that maybe is unencrypted, usually you can pass over that area. So encryption does have a drawback in that sense. But overall, this thing's never given me any problems. It works very well, especially with my MacBooks, PCs. I can take this from my Mac, go right to my PC, and I can copy over my 10 gigabit network almost at full speed. So that was the products that we've been looking at today. I'm going to take one picture of this so we can save that for posterity, because that was a fun show to do today and pretty cool results. And let me know in the chat if you thought that team group was going to be as slow. So for a couple dollars difference, you're doubling your write performance, or tripling your write performance, and doubling and then some your read performance by going with a slightly different brand. Now we know. This has been John the Net Guy. I want to thank you guys all for tuning in. If you're not subscribed already, give me a subscribe. The button is down there. If you're on Amazon, do me a favor, do a follow. Button's also down there. It says follow. There's a carousel on the right. If you click anything on Amazon, remember I do get a very small commission off that. I appreciate it. Your costs do not rise at all. I'm going to answer a few questions here. Coffee and Cynicism comes in and says, was the issue with the Extreme Pro resolved? There was a firmware issue in some of the early models. I was just mentioning that, where you could actually check that firmware on their website with the serial number, and they'll provide a solution for you. Mine didn't need it, and I haven't had a lick of problems, so that's really cool. Again, thank you so much for those that have joined. I have released a video on my YouTube every single day this year, and I'm planning to do that. My editor that I work with actually just got hired on this year, so he is working right now on some new videos that come out, and I've got some other really cool stuff coming from the workshop. If you saw my 2025 welcome video, it was 8 minutes after 2025. You saw the second studio I'm working on for some tools and tech out there. I was working late last night on that one. So lots of cool stuff coming this year. You guys are what makes this this happen. You make this possible, and I appreciate you all. I will catch you guys all in the next one. Let me say goodbye to the Amazon people. They like me to shut that down first. Thank you all that are here from Amazon, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Thanks, everyone.